The reversal last week by new Human Services Minister Bill Shorten on the back of a push in relation to a Medicare form erasing mothers, he put mothers back in, was a step in the right direction. However, the ideology that drives much of this madness is deeply embedded inside the Australian public service and woke corporate culture. Tasmanian Senator Claire Chandler has been fighting against this destruction of sex-based language for a number of years. She joins me now from Canberra. Senator, thank you for your time. Last October, during Senate estimates, you asked the Department of Health about the removal of references to women from a COVID-19 vaccination guide and the use instead of all these gender-neutral terms. You've only just got your response. Here we are now in July. What was it?
Well, thanks so much for having me on the show, Peter. And that's right. Like many fair-minded Australians, I think the question has to be asked where this crazy gender ideology is coming from and why we are erasing words such as woman and words such as mother from government documents and government policy and guidance. And so I asked that question, and the Health Department has told me through the Senate estimates process that they received advice from a group called Pride in Diversity when they removed the words woman and from the COVID-19 pregnancy vaccination guidance last year. Now, Pride and Diversity lobbies directly to government and to big corporates and universities on how they can be more inclusive, whether that's including males in women's sport, whether that's putting preferred pronouns in email signatures, providing gender affirmation leave. There are a whole host of policy issues that this group is lobbying government for, and then providing them awards based on how well they put that advice into action, so to speak. So this is a very revealing response from the Health Department, and I think all Australians should be wondering not only how much taxpayer money is being wasted on this exercise, but why government is paying for very bad advice to start with. Pride and Diversity mirrors itself on the Stonewall Diversity Scheme in the UK, and we know in recent months that that exact scheme has been completely discredited for giving shonky advice to government. So questions really must be asked about who is paying for this, how much is being paid, and why do we need this advice in the first place?
Just on that point, I mean, how does this organisation fund itself? Does it receive taxpayer funding? Does it have charitable status? What do we know about it?
Oh, look, a quick Google will provide some of the answers to that information, Peter, but I certainly think from my perspective, the greater concern is how this group has been able to infiltrate the bureaucracy right down at that middle managerial level where it's only becoming apparent when these things become public, like what we saw with Sal Grover and the Medicare form that you discussed earlier last week, that ministers are coming out strongly and saying this is ridiculous, this isn't something that government should be doing. So we should be very concerned at the level and the influence that this group is having over our bureaucracy and over the public policy outcomes resulting from that influence.
Well, you're right, Senator. The case that you asked the department about back in October related to COVID forms. When it hit the media, I had a text exchange with Greg Hunt, the then Health Minister, and said, did you sign off on this? Where does this come from? And he said, first I've heard about it was reading it in the paper. How do big decisions like this get made with no recourse to the ministers, given the ministers are who we elect? We don't elect the bureaucracy. So why do they get to make big decisions like this?
It's an interesting question, Peter, and I should note that I also raised the issue of the COVID vaccine guidance with the Health Minister and the Prime Minister at the time that it occurred, and I'm very glad that the issue was very swiftly rectified. So, yes, it is absolutely concerning that it's only coming out in the media. But what we need to be asking is, why is this influence happening to start with? And I think it's going to take a very strong minister to come forward and say that they are no longer going to accept this sort of crazy gender ideology from the public service for it to stop. But like I say, questions have to be asked. And I think there's a bit of a deeper dive required to see just how pervasive it is throughout the bureaucracy.
I tell you what, Claire Chandler, you are up for that. I know there's budget estimates coming up. You'll go to that point and find out what you can find out. I'll certainly do the same. We'll come back and see if we know more about this organisation in coming days. Thank you for your time as always. Keep up the fight. She's terrific. She doesn't muck around. Claire Chandler there from Tasmania.